Good evening, traders. This is Taylor from thetradinganalyst.com, and I'm going to go over a couple of these chart requests. We've actually gotten several of them, and I'm going to give my analysis and go over my thought process. This first one I've obviously looked at before, but a lot of these stocks I haven't seen before, so you're going to see me doing some fresh annotations and analysis on stocks that I potentially have not seen before, and the idea behind that is hopefully you can learn a thing or two while I'm going through my process. Okay, so first one here is Sprint. First thing to note here is we're above some pretty big resistance right here. So here was that resistance at about $5.40. You can see how many times we got hit with that resistance. This is a huge resistance, and we broke above that. Notice how when we broke above this resistance, we did it with a big bullish candle and with some big huge volume. So this was the biggest volume day of the entire year. So when you talk about supports and resistances, you can tell that this level mattered because we broke through it with some huge volume and with a huge bullish candle. So another thing that I want to point out here is we've got this uptrend line. You can see that we bounced from the lows right here, here, almost a touch right there, and we haven't touched it quite yet. So if we do end up consolidating lower, this would be a very nice risk reward buy point anywhere under $5.50. And I'm going to look at the weekly time frame to see if I can see any resistance above us. So I'm seeing a little bit of resistance right around $7.60 to $8 from the lows of these few weeks right there. So just be aware of that if we do end up heading up that way. You can see that the last two weekly candles here have had some longer upper wicks, which is usually a sign of potential downside. In this case, obviously this week's candle has not closed yet since it's only Wednesday, but we've got 2 more days. So, but more than likely it's going to be a longer upper wick. So potentially could be seeing some downside here in the short term, but again, this is a very big support down here at about 530, so a nice buy opportunity if it does get down there. Alright, next I'm going to take a look at CRBP. Okay, this is one that I have looked at. And I'm going to go to the daily time frame here, see if I can see anything. So it looks like I did have that uptrend line in this pattern here from before. So you can see a nice breakout, touch here, touch here, touch here against that trend line. You can see this is a really nice pattern, sideways consolidation here, and then we broke outside of that pattern right here. That was a nice buy signal right here, and you can see when we see a nice breakout of this tight range, how explosive that move can be. So similar things that happened to, right here, we were trading sideways really tight, broke out of that range, 264 to about 380. That's something like a 60% gain. Another breakout out of a tight range right here, okay, from about $2 all the way up to about $2.60. Nice gain there. So anyways, just want to go over that kind of setup. When a stock is trading sideways for a while and then it breaks above the highs of that range, that's usually a good sign that a big breakout is going to occur. So just be aware of that in the future. As far as just specifically what I'm seeing here on CRBP, we've got support down here at about 425, and that lines up perfectly with this uptrend line right here that we talked about before. Alright, let's take a look at the next stock, CDE. All right, let's take a look at CDE. Not seeing a whole lot here. I do see a lot of support right around this range between 630 and about 450. You can see that we traded sideways between this range for quite some time, and when you get sideways trading, that creates a lot of support if you trade above that range. So same thing happens on the downside. If you trade below a level, as you can see right here, that was a lot of resistance and we broke above it clearly, but it took a lot of energy and volume to do so. So now that we're above this level, it's going to be nice support. So between 630 and 450. Short term, let's see if I can see anything here. Kind of below a little support here. So you can see that it was support here, here, here's a touch, here's a touch, here, here, and then we have two closes below this level. So looks like it could be seeing some downside here in the short term. And you can see that we've got a little bit of a pickup in volume as well as we're seeing some downside. So you can see that we're gapping down, gapping down. We've got 1, 2 gaps in a row right here. So you can tell that this stock is potentially losing some steam here. We're below the support right there. We've also got the MACD, which is gaining momentum to the downside. So 1240, unless we can break over that, most likely going to see some downside. Here's some shorter term support right here at about 880. You can see that it was resistance right there, resistance right here, and then we broke over it, and we see a lot of touches on the upside of that level. So 880 is that next support level, and then you've got this 200-day moving average, which could line up perfectly, because you see that it is rising, so it could be up to that 880 level once it gets there. Next, let's take a look at ALLY. Alright, so ALLY, let's see what I can see on this stock. First thing that I'm seeing right here, and the banks are doing pretty well. A lot of them are breaking over their 200-day moving average, which is very constructive. You can see that we've got quite a bit of support right around, 1860, even down to about 1820. Okay, 1860 to about, let's just call it $18 right here is going to be that support level. If we end up heading lower, that's going to be support, as well as that 200-day moving average. But definitely a constructive looking chart. We broke over this pretty heavy resistance here. You can see how many times, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see it, how many times we got rejected at this price level. Finally, we broke above it. So definitely a bullish looking chart overall, and I do think as long as we hold this 200-day moving average, we can head much higher and potentially test these highs up here. You can see that there's quite a bit of resistance once we get up near that $23 mark. You can see how many times we've gotten rejected at this price level. So that's going to be a tough cookie to crack. So, but of course, that's quite a ways above us, but just something to be aware of, if and when it does get up there. All right, let's take a look at VRSN. So VRSN, you can see here that we have a nice little downtrend line right here, touch here, lots of touches right here, touch right here, a touch right there, and here we are breaking down from that test there. We broke below the 200-day moving average. And another thing here is I'm going to look at the weekly time frame. We've got a couple of things going on here. We've got a big trend line here that this stock has been following since 2008. So here's that low here in 2008, all the way down at $16 or so. You can see bounce here, here, here's another bounce. Haven't quite had a bounce just yet, and that matches up with the 200-week average, simple moving average right there. So look for a bounce if and when it gets down there. Right now, if it goes straight down, it's probably going to be at about $67, but remember it's on an inclining angle, okay? Another thing you want to look at here, and we'll zoom in here, is we've got another trend line that could act as support as well. As you can see, lots of touches here, 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 and then we haven't quite hit that yet, but it could get a bounce there. You can also see that this is a price level that we've bounced from before, right here at about 73 in late 2015 and early 2016. Lots of bounces right there. And as you can see, it's an important level, as that's the level we're kind of hanging out with for the past few weeks right here. So just be aware of these levels right here. Could get a bounce here. If it breaks below this trend line, we're going to tag this other trend line, and this is that major trend line that you want to be aware of down there near about $67 or $8. Next, let's take a look at ADXS. All right, let's go to the daily time frame here. I'm just going to delete that. And here we have a pretty nice uptrend line right here. You can see from the lows here, a touch there, 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 and that's going to act as support right at the 200-day moving average as well. More than likely we get a bounce from that level. We've also got some nice support from these previous highs at $10, so we could flash lower and then bounce, but definitely like it at support down here at the 200-day moving average, at this $10 support, and the uptrend line right here. All right, let's take a look at EGPT. All right, let's see what I can see here. Seeing resistance right around 41.30, and a break over 41.30 would definitely signal a big breakout here for this Egypt ETF. As you can see, we've got, it kind of looks like a complex inverted head and shoulders. So here's the two left shoulders, here's the head, here's a left shoulder, and then we could be making, right shoulder, and we could be making another right shoulder right here. If we bounce right here and then break over, that could be a big breakout. So I like this pattern here, but the signal here is if it clears this 41.30. Before it clears 41.30, the signal, the pattern, it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's the pattern needs to confirm, and in order to confirm, you need to break over this 41.30 level. But definitely a good pattern and something you want to be aware of. Another thing that I want to look at or show you is this uptrend line right here. So we could get a bounce a little bit lower right there. So just be aware of the trend line, the 200-day moving average, as well as the big implications of this pattern. If we clear 41.30, we can see a big breakout. All right, next let's take a look at FCEL. So FCEL, pretty clear that this stock is in a downtrend. You don't need a downtrend line to see that. So can't really draw a great one anyways. But clearly this stock is in a downtrend. We've got a trend line here that's going to act as support. Obviously, more than likely, it could break, and then we've got support from these previous lows at 475. So if it's going to bounce, it's got to bounce right here. If it closes below about 475, 450, we're going to make even newer lows. You can see that the 200-day moving average is just heading lower and lower. On the upside, you want to see this level broken. And I'll just draw a box here so that you can see it clearly. You can see that we're just trading sideways here. So bulls, you want to see this box broken to the upside. So if we break about 560 on the upside, we can head higher. If you're bullish on this stock, you want to see $5 to 475 hold on this stock. Again, if it breaks those lows, that will be significant and is most likely going to make much lower prices. All right, last but not least, let's check out GILD. And GILD is at an interesting spot here. You can see that we've got this lower trend line. Here's a touch, here's a touch, here's a touch, and we just hit it right here. So not exactly an area that I want to be really shorting at. To me, it's a pretty decent risk-reward on the long side. Another reason that I think it's a decent risk-reward here is we've got positive divergence on the MACD. So here's price heading lower, okay, and then here's MACD heading higher, okay. Here's a low, here's a higher low, and here's another higher low when compared to this low right here, and here's a high, here's a higher high there. So the MACD is positive diverging while price is heading lower. So definitely something that I don't want to be short at this current moment. Obviously, if it breaks below this trend line, then that's going to scrap this theory. But you know, we're right here, so right at this level. So the risk reward there is skewed in favor of a long. At least that's the way that I'm seeing it here on the chart. Thank you guys for watching and giving me the opportunity to do this video. As always, if you have any questions, you can contact me and I'd be more than happy to chat with you. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time.